So Ohio State starting quarterback Will Howard has had some good moments and he's had some bad moments. All of that was on display in a 20-13 win over Penn State on Saturday. In fact, it's been on display in all the 7 other games before that too, where he's had some moments where it's like, okay, that's why they went and got him. But he's also had some moments like, okay, that's why he was at Kansas State. Ryan Day got asked today about his confidence level in Will Howard as the starting quarterback. Does he think he can be the quarterback that leads his team to a national championship? And Will Howard was getting asked some of those same questions. They're all, of course, going to say, yes, we're confident. Show me the coach or the player who just outright comes out and says they're not confident in something that they have to show confidence in. So we're going to do it. Andrew, 1 to 10, confidence level in Ohio State's ability to win a national championship with Will Howard as the starting quarterback in 2024.
That's a good question. I am at like a 7, I think. If 10 is yes, duh, what are you talking about? And 1 is no, duh, what are you talking about? I'm at like a 7, and here's why. I think Will Howard has been really solid. I don't think anybody's sitting here right now doing, stand-up videos going, Will Howard is going to be a top 10 pick, right? I don't think anybody's putting him in that category of this is a game-changing player who changes everything about the way that teams play you offensively because of him. This is not, and this is no disrespect to Will Howard. People might take it as that, but it's not. It's not a C.J. Stroud level player. He's not a Trevor Lawrence level player. He's not, a Joe Burrow level player, a Justin Herbert level player, players that have gone in the top 5. It's just he's not that type of quarterback. But I think he's good enough for what this team wants to do offensively. I think he's good enough for how they want to play offense. And we just saw it against Penn State. He didn't play that well. And whether you think the other many snaps were fine, he did give up 14 points because he threw a pick 6 and he fumbled through the back of the end zone. And Ohio State still won that game by a touchdown. So that can't happen every week. You can't do that against Texas and Georgia and whoever else you're going to play in the playoff. If you do that every week, you're going to lose, and it's just, you don't need to dispute that. If you throw a pick 6 every week, it's not going to end well for you. But you can get through it in a 1-game sample size, and I think we just saw it. So, yes, I think Ohio State should feel pretty good about where they're at with Will Howard in terms of winning a national championship. I don't think you're not looking at Will Howard going, hey, he's got to throw for 450 because he's got to pull everybody up around him. No, the reason you have Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka and Carnell Tate and this great running back tandem is because of that, right? Like Will Howard, we said this all off season long. If Will Howard can just be the distributor, that pass-first point guard who just keeps everything calm, keeps everything in position, gets the ball out to the playmakers, lets them cook, does what he has to do, uses his legs when he have to, you're feeling really good about where you're at with Will Howard. So, yes, he can, and I think that because of what they're asking him to do, you should feel pretty confident about it.
Scale of 1 to 10, Stefan. Confidence level that Ohio State can win a natty with Will Howard.
Well, I laugh at Andrew. 7 out of 10, that's usually a C, in the report card. And he loves to give Will Howard C's over there. I feel like a politician campaigning against you right now. The answer to how confident on a scale of 1 to 10 that he can lead Ohio State to a national championship, it's a 10. He can. Now, will he? We'll see. Games play out, and they could lose in the semis. They could lose in the quarters. Whatever. We'll see what happens there. Can he be the guy to lead Ohio State to a national championship? Yeah. And I'll compare him to another quarterback right now. Cam Ward is at the front of a lot of the Heisman campaigns. He's putting up ridiculous numbers. He's doing great things for Miami. And Miami's not a contender if they don't have Cam Ward at quarterback. If you ask me a question, how confident are you that Cam Ward can lead Miami to a national championship? A lot of people are going to be high because he's doing all these great things. He's doing what Miami needs him to do desperately. Will Howard is doing what Ohio State needs him to do, and that's why I think they could win a national championship with him. Is it flashy? Are the numbers crazy? No, they don't compare to some of Cam Ward's numbers, but he can do enough to lead Ohio State to a national championship. Another thing that Andrew said there of a guy like C.J. Stroud completely changes how you have to defend because of all the things he could do. Defending Will Howard has completely changed how you defend Ohio State's defense compared to last year because we saw it in the Penn State game. When he gets out of the pocket, that is something Ohio State did not have last year, and they win 11-1 in the regular season and were a national title contender had the playoff been 12 teams. So Will Howard, 10 out of 10, can be the quarterback to lead Ohio State to a national championship. I'm not watching games being like they're losing because of Will Howard. Has he made some mistakes that have been costly? Yeah, of course. But you're not looking at that being like, man, this offense can't move the ball because they got him at quarterback. So 10 out of 10, he can. Will he? Will they lose to Georgia or or Texas or Oregon in the college football playoff, I mean, we'll see. Even if they do lose those games, I don't think it's because Will Howard isn't capable of leading them to a national championship.
You took a jab at Andrew, so I'm going to take a jab at you, and then Andrew has to take a jab at me. That was the most semantic answer I've ever heard. Can he? Yeah. Will he? I don't know. I guess time will tell. I like what both of you guys said. The Cam Ward point, yeah, he's doing all that stuff. He's also the one putting him in position to have to do all that stuff. Because for everything good he does something extremely bad as well. That lets... It does, because people don't completely forget about the crazy bad thing when you're doing everything else that's good on the side of the port. The C.J. Stroud, Trevor Lawrence point, I don't know if there's a C.J. Stroud level quarterback in college football.
I agree.
There is Shador Sanders is probably the closest, but he is also not on a team that allows that to happen. That was the thing. Trevor Lawrence and C.J. Stroud were that good. They were also at programs that, hey, it mattered that they were that good. But also, C.J. Stroud had to be that because his defense wasn't good in 2021, and in 2022, they had injuries galore. So he had to uplift. The fact that the supporting cast, I think, is what we're getting at here. The better the supporting cast is, the less you have to rely on your quarterback to win. Now, can the quarterback get in the way of that? Yes. And I think that was people's issue with Kyle McCord, is that it felt like he was getting in the way of winning. I think before the Penn State game, I would have been at a 6 with Will Howard as the quarterback because of the way the defense was trending and the offensive line had some injuries. The defense made Will Howard's mistakes not matter, and that's their job. It's probably going to be their job again at some point in a playoff game. And so then it becomes about, can Will Howard not get so sunken down that he just made a mistake the way you would expect a first-year starting quarterback to do? And that's what the Penn State game showed, right? He made a couple of mistakes early in that game, and he bounced back, and he also made some plays that helped them win. He had a couple of throws in that game. The throw to Brandon Ennis was good, though, but the throw to it's not Brandon Ennis, but Emeka Ibuka's touchdown, where he literally drops it in a bucket. Beautiful throw. The throw to Jeremiah Smith. Beautiful throw. Jeremiah Smith stopped running, and he also lost it in the sun. That's on Jeremiah Smith. But also the Carnell Tate throw. That's on Will Howard. They got to clean that stuff up. But so far, his issues, even if they've traveled game by game, still feel fixable. Last year's issues didn't feel fixable. So because of that, I'm at an 8.5 because I'm not going to do the semantics thing. 8.5. Because everything around Will Howard is starting to play the way we thought it was going to play to the best that it can. The offensive line is only going to be so good at this point. But everything else is clicking now. So it means that if Will Howard throws a pick in the second quarter of the Rose Bowl, you're going to be like, okay, the game's not over. Yeah. With Michigan, when Kyle McCord did that, it did feel like that was a monumental moment in the game. Go ahead and take a shot at me, Andrew.
Well, I mean.
Well, go ahead then first.
Go ahead, yeah.
Steven said the press box of the Penn State game, and Will had an Will had an incompletion that was kind of like a dicey decision, and people were like, well, you can't do that. Steven was like, we can't just call out every incompletion he has because it's an incompletion. Name drop 2 incompletions immediately.
That did happen.
Will Howard has the loudest incompletions in college football this year.
It's weird. He really does. He really does. Go ahead, Andrew.
You also, before the game, so Steven Nostradamus, we're sitting in the press box a couple of minutes before the game. He was just like, yeah, like Howard might throw a pick 6 in a couple of minutes. And I forget what the context was, but he said it like he could very well do it. I was like, you should tweet that out in case he does it. And he goes, nah, because I don't want to be wrong. And the first pass that he threw was a pick 6. So Steven could have been right and could have just told everybody he was right.
Even when I'm wrong, I'm right.
So the thing for me is why I'm at a 7 is this. I look at CJ. I think it is a semantics question. I think you can have a lot of different debates about, okay, what this word means, or how are you viewing this? Because I would have viewed CJ Stroud and Justin Fields as 10s, right? And I don't think that Will Howard is that level of quarterback. So that's where I have him down at a 7. I think you could absolutely agree with Stefan, where you're like, well, obviously this team around him is, probably better than those teams were. So yes, he's at a 10 because he could be the quarterback on that team that leads those teams. So I think it does depend, but I look at Will Howard and I see a quarterback who is not that quarterback where you say, wow, if he's on any team in the top 15 in the country, they can win a national championship when he's there. Like if Will Howard was the starting quarterback at Kansas State just lost, so they're out. BYU.
But that's actually a good
that is an
example.
example, right? Like, or BYU or Notre Dame or Tennessee. Like, are we looking at him going, "Wow, Will Howard can lead this team to a national championship"? I know that's not the question, but like I think that there's different ways to look at this. So that's why I'm at a 7, because I'm not going to put him in that ballpark of first round quarterback, whatever, elite level quarterbacks that are high up ranked like that. But I do think 7 can win you a national championship, and I think Will Howard doing that is because he has great skill players, and like you said, the defense can get you out of mistakes. You can be bailed out of certain things because the defense is that good.
So the answer to can he lead Ohio State to a national championship is 7 because he can't lead BYU to a national championship?
Well, I think it depends. That's my point. Is I think it depends on how you view the question, right? Like, can Will Howard lead you to a national championship?
I get what you're saying. I just think you're saying it in the weirdest way. Here's what he's essentially saying. Ohio State is not a national championship contender because Will Howard is its quarterback.
Yes, that's a way better way to phrase it.
But he can help uplift it.
Yes.
That's what he's saying in that situation. Let's continue this conversation on Buckeye Talk. So go listen to that wherever you find podcasts. 614-350-3315. 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that. Get the text. That's Andrew. That's Semantics Stefan. I'm Nostradamus Steven, who actually doesn't double down on his Nostradamus ability. See you guys later.